Welcome to Caregiver Cast with Mary Elaine Petrucci. Are you overwhelmed raising a family, working full-time, caring for a parent or grandparent? It can be challenging when you're doing it alone. Caregiver Cast helps busy, burned-out professionals reduce their stress and overwhelm to create a better caregiving experience for themselves and their loved one. Caregiver Cast brings caregivers together with experts who provide information in a variety of areas. In each episode, you'll get tips on topics such as finance, legal, medical, self-care, community resources, mindset, and more. We're here to make your caregiving journey a more rewarding one. Acquire the confidence and skills to be a more capable caregiver by implementing the resources and strategies from these expert thought leaders. Get a community of support, resources, and strategies for your caregiving journey inside the Caregiver Lifeline community. Visit caregiverlifelinecommunity.com. And now here's your host, Mary Elaine Petrucci.
Hi, I'm Mary Elaine Petrucci. This is your host for Caregiver Lifeline Community, and this is Caregiver Cast. And my special guest today is Melissa Bernstein. And before she will be talking to us about aging gracefully, while eating healthfully. So healthily. Before I introduce Melissa, I will give you some background information about her. Melissa Bernstein is an occupational therapist and a certified chef devoted to eating healthy and teaching others how to do the same. She's a graduate of Boston University Sargent College and has over 35 years of clinical and consulting experience. During that time, her focus was educating occupational therapists and management training in geriatric rehabilitation, in long-term care, assisted living, home health, and outpatient settings. Welcome, Melissa, to Caregiver Cast. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well now that you're. We should let the audience know that we both went to Boston College.
We are, yay!
Yay, Boston College.
Boston
University, excuse me.
I didn't go to Boston College, no. They didn't have an OT program there or a speech program.
Don't.
Yes.
Okay, so Melissa and I went to Boston University Sargent College. We graduated in two different departments a year apart.
Yep.
Melissa was an occupational therapist and I was a speech pathologist. So it was amazing to finally meet Melissa after all these years.
I know. A great connection. Oh,
it is. Boston University. I will get it straight. Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit more about occupational therapy and what you did, please?
Yes. Well, occupational therapy has been a wonderful profession, and it was a great choice for me because it allowed me to utilize my creativity as well as learning about the science of the human body and about disease management and how to rehabilitate and how to have individuals regain their functional abilities after an accident or after something that has happened, whether it be a stroke or a birth kind of trauma, head trauma, something of that, an accident. So occupational therapy is all about the occupation, if you will, of living. So if you think about living as daily living skills, your feeding, your dressing, your hygiene, the executive function, things like writing in your checkbook, going grocery shopping, those kinds of both levels of ADLs. The other one is called IADLs, which means they're higher level ADLs. Those are the types of things that occupational therapists would spend time encouraging and helping a patient or a client become as independent and as functional as possible.
Thank you for that. I did work with occupational therapists in my different settings in long-term care and independent and assisted living and home care. So I really do
Yeah.
appreciate what you
The
do.
beauty, the beauty about occupational therapy is you really work from birth through through death, if you will. It's really the gambit and everything in between. So, you know, and earlier in my career, I started out in pediatrics working with homebound babies, and then ended up in geriatrics working with, you know, dementia and Alzheimer's and those that were infirmed. So I really did. I think occupational therapy is the best profession ever. No offense to speech language pathologists, but the ability to work with different clients in different settings is just, you know, it's an outstanding profession.
Most definitely. And we can continue that discussion at a later time, but I mean, speech pathologists do the same thing. It's from birth.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Until death, like you mentioned, and working with children and adults in different settings, you really begin to appreciate the scope of what I was responsible for.
Yes, and OT and speech are just a team when working with all of those types of clients. I cannot tell you how often, or really all the time, they were my go-to person for oral meat, swallowing, dysphagia. I mean, just a gambit of areas that were not my expertise, and it was great to have a partnership with speech language pathologists and physical therapists as well. We don't want to leave the physical therapists out.
No, we don't. Because they did graduate from Sargent College too at Boston University. Yes,
they did.
Can't leave them out.
They did. No.
So my question is,
yes,
Melissa, how did you go from occupational therapy to chef?
Wow, that's a long part of my world in terms of my years of being out in the field. Well, it really was kind of a gradual direction that I went into when I was doing clinical management and working as a therapist in management in private practice. When I left private practice, I went into healthcare consulting, and that was something that I really enjoyed, is helping other therapists in private practice understand the business of rehab, if you will, because a lot of therapists did not get that kind of education and training with how to run a business. They're great clinicians and they're great practitioners, but they didn't really understand. So that was with my 14 years being in private practice and doing a variety of operational and high-level jobs. I was able to really impart my knowledge to therapists and who were running businesses. And that was very, very rewarding time. But I was on the road a lot and I had little kids and I really wanted to get off the road. So I started doing e-learning education and really was one of the first therapists that started a learning management system called Dynamic Learning Online, where I provided over 150 courses online for therapists to get their wanted or needed continuing education units. So that was physical, occupational, speech language pathology, guardians, and athletic trainers. Those were the groups that I focused on. And for the 15 years that I did that, it was an incredibly rewarding experience, but it also gave me that bug for education and training and education more than I had before. So it kind of expanded. And then, you know, my husband started writing books, and I kind of decided it was time for me to kind of put that aside and work with him on not only publishing his books through our Dynamic Learning Corporation, but also helping him with parts of his book. And one of his books, the last book that he wrote, was called The Power of Five, The Ultimate Formula for Longevity and Remaining Youthful, which I believe you spoke with him about when you interviewed him. And it's about the 5 things that people need to do more of or less of to have a long, healthy life and age well. And the 5 things, they all start with S. So you need to get more sleep, more sweat, which is exercise, and more, oh my God, forgot the third one. Hold on one second. Let me just grab this here real
I
quick.
think one is sex,
And more,
if I
sex,
remember
yeah,
correctly.
sex is the one you need more of. Yeah, so more socialization or sex.
Thank you.
It's sex on the book, but the socialization piece is the connections and the intimacy and relationships, and it goes beyond obviously sex. So, and then the things that you need to do less of are have less stress, which we all need to have less stress, and we need to have less sweets. So the sweets aspect is where I come in. That is the realm of healthy eating, not only externally, but also your body is the health of your body. So that the sweets aspect and the second part of the book is really putting healthy eating to, I don't think I can do that. Putting healthy eating to practice. So putting healthy eating to practice is where I helped with the book, which is doing meal planning for someone who wants to start adjusting their way of eating, or we call it their lifestyle, their eating lifestyle. And by doing that, I had always enjoyed cooking my whole life. And I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my children and my mother and my grandmother. And so I was always enjoyed cooking as not only the act of cooking, but it's what happens when you cook in the kitchen with somebody, and the experiences and the things that you remember about cooking in the kitchen with your family. And so doing that second part of the book, I thought, I need to start blogging about food and blogging my recipes, because I'm the type of cook that can just, whip stuff up, which I'm very fortunate that I can just kind of make up recipes. So I decided to go ahead and post those and start a food blog. And then I said, well, I might as well go ahead and get some real credentials about this whole thing, and went and became a vegan chef. And I'm planning on taking a higher level, professional level chef course when I finish my second cookbook, which is in process right now. So the importance of healthy eating has always been in the forefront, and it just everything kind of snowballed and kind of fit together as it happened. So the process really went nicely to where I am today.
Can I just ask really, that's an incredible story, Melissa. So my question is, why vegan cooking? Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I've been a vegetarian since I was 21. So it was not difficult for me to kind of make the shift to being a vegan, which really just took the dairy out of my diet. But about 7 years ago, David and I went and experienced several workshops on health and wellness, and actually about why veganism and being a vegan is important for the environment, if not anything else, just not only killing animals, but also what, is happening in our environment. And we both just kind of looked at each other and said, we're going there. So it was not a difficult time for me to shift over at all. But my husband, he didn't eat meat a lot, but since we've been together, he had gone more. I say to people that I took him to the light of eating. So he didn't eat a lot of red meat. We ate a lot. We ate fish. I would make fish for him, etc. And we would have fish, because I was really more of a pescatarian before I went vegan, for health reasons, needing more iron in my system. But since then, we've gone vegan, and all my recipes are vegan based, but they add adaptation so that people who are not vegans or vegetarians or pescatarians or eat meat even can enjoy my recipes and do the modifications necessary for their lifestyle of eating.
Wow, that is really amazing.
Thank you.
I thought it was hard enough becoming a vegetarian, but I know that I need to remove like the dairy and the sweets from my diet, and So I will go from you and figure out how I can do that.
There you go. Go on my recipe and go on my
I-
website and figure out how to do that for sure.
Exactly. I just would like to mention that Melissa's husband is Dr.
David
Sorry,
Bernstein.
I'm really having a memory problem this morning.
That's okay. That's all right.
I would just like to say that Melissa's husband, Dr. David Bernstein, was an incredible speaker for the Caregiver Lifeline Summit coming up this November 8th through the 10th. And so it's nice to have Melissa on now, see the other side of it. So
Yes.
thank you. So why is cooking with someone with a neurodegenerative disease such as dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or other like diseases beneficial?
Yeah. So I was writing a cookbook for healthy eating. Actually, it's called Your Guide for Healthy Cooking and Eating.
Okay.
And I was approached by a group called Arden Courts, and they provide memory care facilities in the Florida and then also in several other parts of the country. Okay. I think east of the Mississippi. And we've been doing some work with them over the years. And I spoke with them about their caregivers, and we have been consultants for them for quite a while. And I said to them, what would you think about if we taught caregivers how to bring their care recipients or care partners, we like to call them as well, into the kitchen for a purposeful activity, something that they can both benefit from. And they were just like, they were so excited about the idea. So we put a proposal together, and we actually did a workshop with their caregivers on how to feel comfortable. And this was caregivers that could be spouses, they could be outside caregivers coming in. And this was a way that to kind of get out of their routine, to show them something different that they could do with their care recipients that would be meaningful and that would promote communication, would promote remembering things, past reminiscence, and maybe bring some memories back to life. And the workshop went so well. I did actually a video in my Power of 5 test kitchen, is what we call our test kitchen. What we call our kitchen is our test kitchen. Okay. And I have a friend who has Parkinson's, who is a speech language pathologist as well. And she was my talent. And we did several activities of cooking in my kitchen and videoed it. And then I discussed the front matter and the back matter on the video, but then decided I would go ahead and put this in writing for the caregivers, so they would have the guide in which to do this. Because the benefits of not only for the care recipient to facilitate and do a different activity and facilitate memory and facilitate mobility and facilitate maybe even their recall of music, the caregiver also can benefit because they don't take as well care of themselves as we would like to see caregivers. They will all admittingly say, the care recipient comes first, my health comes second, my personal needs come second. And that's so, their health and wellness is so important for them to continue to care for their care recipients. So coming up with, kind of my OT kind of popped back into life with thinking about the activity of analysis of recipes and breaking down a recipe so that they are bite-sizable, if you will, for a care recipient to be able to help with different parts of a recipe. So that they can feel engaged and they can feel like they're doing something that they may not have been able to do for a very, very long time, and participate. That's really the key, is any level of participation in any of these recipes is just acceptable and just fabulous for any level. We did it's just something of a sidebar, if you don't mind.
No, go
I
ahead.
just recently did a video with a cooking activity with a gentleman who was actually one of Dr. Bernstein's former patients, who was in Arden Court Memory Care. He's a former sports person, athlete. And he and his daughter is a wonderful caregiver, and she goes in the morning and gets him up, and in the evening and gets him up and puts him to bed and feeds with him. And so I asked her, I said, could we go in and do something together? She said, absolutely. So we made a basic fruit salad. And he's pretty nonverbal right now, and he's pretty much in a wheelchair all the time, although he does do some standing. And he does have some mobility of his upper extremities. And he was able to participate in this activity. And when he saw Dr. Bernstein come in, he hadn't seen him probably in 5 years. And he lit up like a candle. He just he recognized him, which was just so beautiful.
Yes.
And during the activity, he was watching me. He was listening to me. You could tell that he was participating. He was able to, I did a little hand over hand method and was able to cut with him. He was able to bring the spoon to his mouth. He was able to scoop and put the fruit in a bowl. Any of those small little activities were just perfect. And he was just so adorable. I just so enjoyed working with him. And Jessie, his daughter, had told me the story about that. He wasn't really a cook, but he loved to make pancakes for the kids when they were little.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of the cooking activity, I said to Tom, I hear you make some really mean pancakes. And he goes, yeah. So he remembered when he made pancakes with his children. And we talked about that a little bit. So it was the whole experience, and it was only like half an hour, which is a perfect amount of time that he was able to have something different than his normal routine. And he was able to engage in something like cooking, which he would normally never do during his daily activities in a memory care unit.
That's really an incredible story. That's amazing. I know with one company that I worked with, they were suggesting things like you're mentioning, like getting them to smell things or just at whatever level they could, just to participate and give them the language if they didn't happen to have it at that particular moment. So I think it is so rewarding, either from an occupational therapy or a speech pathology point of view. I think that's any way you can really engage the person so that they feel, I guess, more whole, if you would like to use that word.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. I would love caregivers to have a comfort level, and that's really why I wrote the cookbook and put all that information in there, because it really gives them some ideas of what to do, how to do it, how to be prepared in the kitchen before they start an activity, and understand they don't have to do an activity all in one sitting. They could break it up in small pieces if they wish, like do some in the morning and then maybe in the afternoon, keeping in mind the fatigue factor and attention span and, other kinds of things that might show you that it was time to stop the activity and do something else. So I wanted caregivers to feel comfortable, and that's really why I put this all together for them. And I hope it is for some benefit. In the back, I also included some adaptive equipment that would help to facilitate independence with their care recipient. So those resources are also available to them.
That's incredible. It sounds like you included everything that a caregiver really needs. That's awesome. So my question, when you're working, this is also like an aside, however, when you were working with that memory care company, did they ever allow you in the kitchen?
Well, during COVID, no,
Right, right.
you know, because everything kind of happened right at the beginning of COVID. So we didn't go in the kitchen, but this last activity I did was actually at the facility in their kitchen, in the activities area that has a beautiful kitchen. It's a kind of a social activity area where
Right.
the residents can go with families, or the residents can come and do activities with the activity director or the occupational therapist. And there's a lovely kitchen there. So we were able to work right in there.
Okay.
So
Just thank you for
that
that
was really nice.
clarification. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that
I
was really
know.
nice.
Well,
So I would like to do more. I would like to do more. And I wanted to try it with Tom because I know his daughter and I know we know them. So there was a comfort level with him. I wanted to try it in the facility to see if that would be something that I'd want to do more of. And it worked out beautifully. So certainly I would, you know, I would love to do that again.
well, it sounds like a great program that you started in this memory care facility, and working with that company, because I think it always used to depress me when these residents just sat there doing nothing, or sat in front of a TV all day long and weren't doing
Yes,
anything productive. So thank you
right.
for that.
Sure.
So
Sure.
do you have other material or other cookbooks with other disabilities?
I do not at this time. I right now I'm trying to finish the larger cookbook, which is, as I mentioned earlier, the guide to cooking and healthy cooking and healthy eating. But there's one more form I want to mention that's available for the caregivers in my materials, and it is it's called a again, you're not going to be able to see this, I'm sorry, but it's an inventories checklist that is available, that I put together, of the things that I thought would be the most beneficial information for them to be able to bring someone comfortably into the kitchen, understanding the environment of what they might need to set up before they do that, like if they need to sit at a counter, if they can stand, or if they're going to need to sit at a table with some support. What is their hand coordination like? What is their upper extremity strength like? Their vision, their vision acuity. Do they wear glasses? These are things, the sensory kinds of things that you're going to need to know about the care recipient before starting a cooking activity as well. So, and the key to this, really, I think the biggest question on this, not only understanding the functionality of the care recipient to participate in a purposeful activity, but also their foods, likes and dislikes. So if you choose a food that they don't like, that's going to be kind of a deal breaker. Right. So choose something that the care recipient likes, because then you're going to get more participation and more engagement. And then at the end, when the recipe is done, then they can enjoy the fruits of their labor and really sit down and then have a meal where there's a conversation and, you know, talk about what they enjoyed about cooking that meal, or even putting together a fruit salad, and what are their favorite fruits. So it's, again, they're conversation starters, if you will, while you're cooking, as well as while you're enjoying, you know, the recipe that you've prepared. So this form is available. Wish I could figure out how to get this.
I think you would have to go on Blur.
On Blur. Okay, did you want me to do that real quick? Okay, let me go off Blur and then I'll go back on. Let's see, how do I do that? Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's the Power of Five book that we talked about, Dr. Bernstein's book. Okay, and here is the Power of Five Test Kitchen Caregiver edition of the cookbook.
Oh, wow. All right.
Okay,
I like
so that's what that looks like.
Okay.
And then this is the form that's in the back, which basically is just a checklist. And it's just yes, no, or yes, no, or, and then in terms of their functional abilities, it's fair, good, yes, no, good, fair, or poor. So that kind of gives them a gauge of if they're in the fair and good mode, then certainly could participate with their upper extremities or their fine motor control or whatever. And they might need more assistance with a fair, and they would certainly, if it's poor, they're going to need a lot more assistance. And I also included assistance levels in there as well. So they've got lots of resources. So I would encourage them to use those resources and try it.
I'm excited about this whole idea. Thank you for sharing the Power of Five and the Test Kitchen Cookbook for caregivers. And I like that checklist. That's really very helpful. You've thought of everything. I love it.
Thank you.
So are these cooking activities done one-on-one, or can it be done with a group?
I think it depends on the care recipient, whether you do it in a group or not. If you have help, like you can do a caregiver, care recipient together and have several together in a group, that would work. Okay. Certainly, and I could certainly guide people, go around and show people, with this person, you need to do this, or with this person, you need to help with this, or, but I personally like to work one-on-one with the client, because then I can really give them the undivided attention that they need during a cooking activity. But certainly if there were enough hands to help, partners between each other, I think it could work fine in a small group. Okay.
I would think that doing a group exercise would depend, like you said, on the number of caregivers that are available, or even staff at the facility that are able to help you.
Correct.
And I'm sure I know for me, it would take a lot of convincing with management to do it as a group exercise.
Yes.
So
very true.
I think that many caregivers in some of these memory care units are taking care of more than 4 or 5 people, and they're pretty strapped, I guess, and stressed out.
Yeah. I think I might have told you before that my mom is going to be 98 next month, and she is in assisted living. Yes, she's in assisted living.
Okay.
Not in a memory care unit, but I can just imagine what it's like in the memory care unit. I've not been in her particular facility's memory care unit because she's not in there, so they wouldn't really let me in unless I was in a professional capacity, which I am not there. Right. So I just know that my mom, who has, memory issues based on her age, I don't think, even there may be some mild cognitive disorder with her, but she's still going to call me 4 times a day. My sister, she still is, the telephone is her lifeline to talk with relatives and stuff, which is wonderful. But I see that the caregiver level at that facility, unfortunately, is not the way it used to be. I think they're all working very hard. I do not think they have enough staff. And I think this is a national problem. This is not just in my mother's facility. This is a national crisis that we have with the amount of caregivers and the amount of workers that want to work in this type of environment. And they don't take the time, unfortunately, they don't have the time to take the time to do the small little things that occur that are necessary for the care of the resident, and for the resident to feel like they're being cared for with love and compassion. And unfortunately, that's something my mom complains about all the time. And she's one of the ones that can complain, fortunate or unfortunate for the facility, right. The other ones, there's a lot of people there that can't complain and don't.
Right.
I don't know.
Well,
so you're right about their time and their abilities, and they're strict.
Yes, I just recently discovered that in 8 years, there's going to be 75 million baby boomers who retire. That's 45% of the workforce. So who is going to be taking care of these seniors who need the extra help?
And it could be you and me, my dear.
Yes, I know. Thank you for putting me in there. I
I'm
appreciate
so
that,
sorry,
Melissa.
but
Thank
it's
you.
both of us.
I know. You're right.
It's
I am in that category.
very stressing. It really is very stressful to think about that. You know, there's right now, you know, there's 53 million caregivers that are unpaid caregivers, family members that are caring for people. But even the paid caregivers, you know, that are in the workforce, there's not enough of them. So I do not know what's going to happen. It is very frightening to see what's going to happen in the future with our age group.
Oh, I'm totally aware that something needs to be done. And I know that family caregivers lose a lot in terms of retirement and things when they become a caregiver.
Yes.
There are like state Medicaid waivers that where people can be, a family member can become a caregiver, but even that and even paid caregivers do not have a living wage. And it's just really frightening how much time and energy caregivers put in with their loved one or their care recipient, and they're not getting reimbursed for what they're actually doing. And nobody seems to understand that, which is really totally unfortunate. And I think you and I both know that from our
and I don't know what solution. I mean, I don't know what the solution is. I really don't. It's just such a big animal to tackle.
It is.
I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
You and I will have to think of some.
We will. We'll have
really
to think
quickly
about it because
really quickly. I love what you've brought, Melissa, to caregivers today. I think
thank you.
It really empowers a caregiver to, you know, make that or do that extra step for their care recipient so that it can be a more meaningful relationship, because now it just seems like I can only imagine what the senior must feel when they are sitting there not doing anything productive, especially when that's what they've been doing all of their life. So my question to you, do you have 3 takeaways for cooking for caregivers?
3 takeaways for cooking? Yes, I do have. I have more than 3, but I'm only going to tell you 3.
Well, no, you can go more than 3. That's fine.
No.
That's acceptable.
The number one, probably the number one takeaway is have the confidence and feel comfortable that it's going to be okay, no matter what they do, and no matter what type of cooking, or even if it's just doing an activity in the kitchen, folding napkins, setting the table. You know, maybe they start with something like that rather than starting out with cooking a recipe. Okay. If they're going to choose a recipe, choose one that is healthy and delicious, and that is within the taste realms of the care recipient. Also, keep it simple. Keep it simple so that you know, with small amount of parts, that you can just, you know, do it slow and not be in any rush and have it not be complicated. The third thing is always be prepared with your food, such as if you're going to make a fruit salad, you may want to go ahead and pre-buy, you know, already pre-cut to make the activity even simpler, and have it all out on the table with an opportunity to discuss what different fruits they have that are going to go in their fruit salad, where all you'd have to do is open the top, they'd have to pick it up and pour it in. I mean, it can be as simple as that. And a large spoon that they could just stir. So being prepared no matter what recipe you make is really important. Also, the last thing or maybe one of the last things that I'll share with you is also it's important to make sure that personal needs are met. Bathroom needs are met before you get started. Yes. You may want to wear gloves, depending on what you're making. You may want to put some latex gloves on for protection. Making sure the positioning is appropriate for the care recipient, and that they're able to reach properly onto the counter or at the table. And so there's no distractions for mobility in their upper extremity. And that they're in a safe kind of situation when they're cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I will say, this is the last thing I will say, is just keep an eye out and observe for fatigue, for frustration. You don't want them to be frustrated during an activity. You want it to go as smoothly as possible. Those are the two things that I think are really important. And always communicate with them with dignity and respect.
Yes.
No matter what no matter what you're doing. And nothing that they might do is bad or harmful. It needs to be supportive. You need to have a supportive attitude with them, no matter what they can and can't do, with positive words.
Okay, you summed it up very well. I'm just thinking that if I had done something like that with my mother, she had apraxia in her right side, so it would have been hard for her to really use or cut like an apple or whatever it happened to be. So I like the idea that you could find the fruit already prepared, and I mean, stores serve it that way. So yeah, just make it fun. And
yes,
like the way
fun
that
is really important.
Fun, taking into consideration their skill level, obviously, and just making sure that they're safe and they're enjoying what they're doing. And I thank you so much for bringing those words of encouragement to everyone.
Yes.
They
also might want to bring music into it if it's not too distracting. And if you think about music, you know, what music do you remember? What years do you remember the music in your life? Like, what kind of music do you listen to?
Oh, like 70s, 80s, or just classical music, you know?
Exactly. So what you listen to between 18 and 22 is what you're going to remember. So if you go back in someone's life, if someone is, 85 and you're working with them, go back to that time. And that's the type of music that they used to love. So they probably still were listening to that music. So that could facilitate, tapping into the music of their time, if you will, might be a way to facilitate some past reminiscence. And even, even dancing. I mean, I have a story about a friend of mine whose mother was in the kitchen and they were making a cooking activity, and then some music came on the radio, and she kept telling her to come over. She came over, grabbed her hand, and they got up and she wanted to dance in the kitchen. So it was just a beautiful thing. So, if the spirit moves you and they used to dance when they were younger, then why not do some dancing and just a little dancing in the kitchen? Doesn't hurt. And
no, it doesn't.
It would really be a lovely engagement. And there's the tactile sensation of, holding someone when you dance with them. And then there's the auditory with just listening to the music, and the movement aspect of it is, it's the trifecta: eating, music, and dancing. What more is there?
There isn't. I love that story too. Thank you for bringing that in. I think
great
that's
story. Yeah.
Yeah, that is incredible. I mean, because they really do want to engage at some level. And if we had more caregivers, I think it would really improve care recipients' quality of life. So
agreed.
I hear that you have some free offers for us, Melissa. Could you tell us about that, please?
I do, yeah. So if you go to our website, which is power of 5, the number 5, life.com, you will see a little a box that says have a free gift. So when you click on that, you're able to get 2 cookbooks that I wrote, kind of mini cookbooks. One is about the holiday recipes. So that's great for a holiday meal coming up. We have lots of holiday meals coming up. And then one is spring salad. And then Dr. Bernstein's book is also there, a small little book called Notes on Living Longer, which is a lovely little book, white paper, if you will. So those 3 are available for free.
Well, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to trying some of these, these recipes that you've created.
You can also sign up to receive recipes to come right to your mailbox. So you may do that on our website as well, or blogs. You can sign up for Dr. Bernstein's blogs as well, and our cooking blogs. All they have to do is, put their information in and then check which one they want to receive, and they'll be able to hear from us every week or every 2 weeks. We don't like flood their mailboxes with lots of information, but they can always go and research on our website into past blogs and information and past recipes. I have probably 250 recipes that are there that they can search if they're looking for a particular food they want to cook. And we also have an e-library, or not an e-library, but a library that they can purchase books. And then we just launched our Power of 5 online course. So we took Dr. Bernstein's book and we turned it into 9 modules that help people get started on their journey to live a long, healthy, and happier and age well. So it's a great series, and it's available now that they can sign up. There is an offer for a discount on the course right now. It's at your own pace, so you can do it when you want to, and it's unlimited in terms of how long you can have it. So that's the good news about that. And there's lots of resources on those modules that they can continue to use. I talk about, of course, healthy eating, making it all happen. And then I also talk about journaling and how important it is to journal, and the benefits of journaling in your life. So that's my other module that I talk to. The rest is Dr. Bernstein talking about all kinds of things about, inflammation and healthy ways to exercise, etc. So we go through all 5 aspects of the Power of 5: how to sleep better, how to get more exercise, how to eat better, how to sleep better, and how to have more meaningful relationships.
Yes.
So,
wow, you come with bearing many gifts. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I could understand why you're doing that 9-part or 9 module program, because you obviously, from what I understood, you already have your own company that does that, correct?
Not anymore. I closed it down. No, I wound it down. No, we're starting again with all about health and wellness. So no, I couldn't do both things at once. So I wound down that company.
No problem. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. It's been wonderful.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
This has been great. I know it's been nice to reminisce, and nice to have your husband speaking at the upcoming summit.
Yes,
so I am
looking
so
forward to that.
excited. I know, and to have both of you on as guests is just amazing to me. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. We really enjoy being with you.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Caregiver Cast today. Get a community of support, resources, and strategies for your caregiving journey inside the Caregiver Lifeline community. Visit caregiverlifelinecommunity.com. Get involved with the show. Send your email to mpetrusi2002@gmail.com. And we'll see you again next week for another episode of Caregiver Cast.